Hello and welcome to another episode of A View from the Top. I'm Adrian Cropley. A View from the Top is a regular podcast from the Centre for Strategic Communication Excellence, where I get to interview some of the world's leading communication professionals as we explore their career journey. Today I'm at one of Melbourne's biggest cemeteries, speaking with Deb Ganderton, who was recently appointed the CEO for the Greater Melbourne Cemetary Trust. So Deb, welcome, and it's absolutely fabulous to be talking to you today.
Thank you, Adrian. Great to be here.
It's and what a lovely environment you work in. People probably don't have a perception of cemetery and what it is like, but I tell you what, you have made your office, and it's a shame you can't see it, but it's a beautiful, reflects Deb's personality wonderfully well.
Thank you. I think I'd like to make two comments about that. One, the Gothic representation of cemeteries as being dark and spooky places, something out of Wuthering Heights or something, is gone. I think I need to reimagine cemeteries to be places of contemplation. So we at Greater Metropolitan Cemetery Trust have 600 hectares of parkland, and that is maintained at no cost to the community. So our gardens, our botanic gardens, our bushland is really places where people feel safe. I mean, no one worries if you cry at a cemetery.
Yes, exactly.
So I just think it's a haven. Regarding my office, I think it's really important to, particularly if you come in new, to actually have a brand.
Yes.
And I think my brand is one of, high energy and a little bit naughty or a little bit disruptive. So I pop into the big chair and I bring in my own furniture, my bright 1960s hard-edged art, and wonderful sculptures, and it's like, wow. So at the other end of the office, I've become a destination.
Yeah, that's right. I can imagine everybody running to this destination. And creative, because it has to. And you talk about brand, and this is a really good segue into thinking about your brand, because your brand didn't start the day you became a CEO. As a communication professional and a career communication professional, your brand probably started way back. And you probably didn't even know it at the time. So I'd like to explore a little bit about your career journey, and I would like to spend a bit of time talking about your elevation into a role of a CEO, because I have to say, and I'll say this right up front, there is very few in the world communication professionals who have made it into the CEO position. Yes, certainly the C-suite, but as that top job, because it's generally full of accountants, auditors, and lawyers. To have somebody that has your creativity, your business tenacity as a communication professional, and then move into that is something that's rare. And secondly, what's rare is you're a woman as well. But before we start there, Deb, let's go back only a little way to maybe where you started in school. What is it that you studied, and how did you go into or become part of the communication profession?
I think I fell into it, really. So beginning of my career was in marketing, strategic planning, working for consultants specialising in hospitality and tourism. I then, so I probably spent 10 years doing that, and that was working in a multidisciplinary team. And I think what I brought to that team was this wonderful ability to synthesise complex and technical information to make it digestible for the readers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm sitting there with accountants, because it was an accounting practice that I was with, a large one, to actually have the engineers, the town planners, and the engine, and my job was to be like the Babel fish. Actually go, I'm hearing it, and so what? I'm hearing it, and so what? And bringing it together, and that really is a skill that's seen me throughout my career to make the complex simple and to actually communicate it. So I then married a chef. So that was interesting. And I moved, after all my wonderful experience in operational reviews and efficiencies. I knew everything. And then I started my own restaurant, and I was out the front and he was out the back in regional Victoria. And it was so fun. Well, of course, everything was all right, and it was down in Sale in Gippsland until Esso went on strike. Right. And all of a sudden I didn't have money coming in, and I had salaries to pay, and I had a 75-seater fine dining restaurant with maitre d's and staff coming out my wazoo. And I thought, oh my God. So then all of a sudden all my technical knowledge and everything else was, okay, I probably need to cut staff to a minimum. I probably need to be flexible, and I might need to do my own toilets. Yeah. So that was a wonderful example of how experts really know nothing until you're actually doing the job.
I think that immersive exercise in going, here's life giving me that lesson.
Because I had all the spreadsheets. I knew benchmarking. I knew, lordy. So that was kind of exciting. That was incredibly good fun. All the local winemakers, the local producers. It was very, very exciting. I work very, very well with creative people. I don't think I'm particularly creative myself, but I know how to support and enjoy and capitalise on creativity. So that journey kind of lasted for 7 years, 10 years, and then it all got a bit hot in the kitchen, and so we decided that perhaps maybe we might part ways. Still amicably, we're still great pals, but really. So then I go, well, I might need to come back to Melbourne. And, of course, gone are the days of the great consultancies of the 80s.
Oh, yes.
And I hadn't worked, if you know what I mean, because I'd run my own business for like 10 years, and I hadn't worked and then, I was out of a job. So I go, well, and there was an ad in the local paper that said, wanted someone for a local council that can write media releases. And I thought, I could do that. I don't know, 10 minutes up the road. So they said, you need to go and do can you type?
Yeah.
I go, are you kidding me? So I went along to the local living and learning centre and did, it wouldn't have been word perfect in those days, like a word course or whatever. And I just loved it. So I went into there as a temp, into their comms department. Now, I'd been used to earning quite a lot of money. And then all of a sudden I was there at an entry level, and I was, my 30s, mid-30s, late 30s actually. And all of a sudden...
Is this when you have to check your ego?
Oh, totally. Well, to me, I don't think a job defines you. I think that you're you and you're fabulous, so you just go on. So I said, I can do that. Anyway, so I was a temp, and I just forgot to leave. So then there was an opportunity over with... a little more senior in their economic development department, looking at tourism and visitation. Because I had both strings to my bow, I said, look, I'd like that if I may. And then in the, you do your performance review every year. So I wrote in the performance review, I'm very happy here and thank you very much, but I do believe that my love and my passion is communications. Brilliant. Should there be an opportunity, because the comms manager had been there 7 years, and I felt surely he'll have to go soon. Surely.
Is that long?
Surely. Still a great pal of mine, I might add. I would wish to be considered, because I really would like to be at a management role, back to a management role. Not bitching, not complaining. Yeah. I was still very happy. Sure enough, within the year. And then the HR department and the CEO remembered the performance review for that, and they put me into the job as an interim, and then I went for the interview.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So how lovely to then go, that started a 17-year career in local government.
Wow, great.
Where I saw the evolution of straight comms into comms and engagement.
Yes.
Then the evolution of comms, engagement and customer service. Comms was the voice, customer service was the ears.
Yes.
Engagement is a way of being. Introducing a culture of engagement and values into the organisation. So then you enter into this arena of culture. And that trajectory, although it wasn't that quick, is actually following the mores and the journey of comms professionals.
Yeah.
So I loved working in an environment where you were resourced to actually to take the company forward.
And don't get jealous, everyone. To be resourced in comms is absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Well,
when you don't have it and you're trying to do everything, but to get the resource.
Well, I think it's up to you to build your brand, to be the trusted advisor, not necessarily the advocate, because advocate means I've got to change your view, and the finance department will just think you're an overhead.
Yes.
And the councillors will want more publicity, and then you're stuck in the middle. So if you try to, and that's why IABC is so important, because it gives you benchmarking, it gives you language around to make a business case.
Yeah.
So it's what value does the organisation place on community voice, place on culture, place on well-being.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you would question, this is a broad statement, the organisation if they weren't willing to give you a fair hearing.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong, I've worked in very, very small councils where there was nothing.
Yes.
To get a $5,000 budget bid in to do signage, I had to do it over 3 years.
Right.
I know.
5,000 over 3 years.
I know how to be lean and mean, believe me. And also, you don't give them a fait accompli. You can go for a minimum service comms department, that you would need 2 to 3, and that would be blah blah. For and then the 8 to 10, and then the whatever. So you'd give them choices, and for that choice, you will get this service.
Yeah.
So again, you're not blackmailing, but don't expect the middle level to actually deliver the top level, and then everyone's disappointed.
We're bantering about this a little bit, but it's absolutely a serious topic for communication professionals that don't get the budget, and they still are walking into their executive with the dish in hand and saying, please, sir, can I have some more, and begging for it. And you've hit on some things that are really important about making it valuable. Therefore, if you want this is what it will cost, and this is what you need to provide in terms of resources. Now, you were really good at doing that certainly when you were in Burundara Council, because you got to a very senior role in that council. What do you think you did or learnt along the way that made you so successful in that particular role?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So, local government's a very small arena, and it's really important, I think, as a comms person, to deal with other comms people, so that you actually support where you can or learn when you can and stuff like that. So to change the sector, it was reasonably important to demonstrate and to do a portfolio that was an executive portfolio. So the Burundara job was actually a job that was already in the C-suite.
Yes.
And I applied for that. Now, that was interesting because that was one of the first local governments. A few had tried it before, but to go in and be on the executive. I might add I was made executive manager, not director.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because you're not quite a manager, but you're not quite a director.
Was it they still weren't sure?
Yeah. Names do not matter.
Yeah.
Assume the position. Assume the position. You are there with an equal vote to the engineer and to the accountant and to the community person. So you just assume the position with humility, but you just, what value do you bring? So I didn't actually have to, you walk in. So my advice to any upcoming comms professional, to use the opportunity every time you change jobs, and I'm normally in jobs 5 years, to reinvent yourself.
Yes.
So I think
good advice.
I think at my first job I was the events girl. I was the girl that would get out in the parks and be setting up and doing this, and I was the party girl. My second job, I wore suits. I was very grown up. And my third job, I was a little more relaxed, and that was executive, so I didn't have to. So it was, how could I be of value? Yeah. So I think that do not bring the sins of the past. What brand do you wish to bring to the table to allow you to have the influence, to be trusted and to influence and be that person? That could make you a little schizophrenic, but I've always had mentors, and I've always taken advice just on how I present. I had a wonderful piece of information. I mean, I am extremely extroverted. Wonderful piece of advice from Margaret Devlin, one of my coaches over the years. Deb, just be 2 decibels above your audience.
What great advice.
So I thought, how marvellous is that? When I'm presenting to a board or presenting there, I'm reading the room, and I just keep the energy in the room, and I'm watching them, watching me, going, I think I've just lost them because I've gone on with the big idea.
Yeah.
Not time for the big idea. Modulate your voice.
Yeah.
Have the data. The other part of the brand will be know your stuff.
Yes.
Have the spreadsheets. Do the data. Do not in any way, because there's still a feeling around board tables that you're the marketing chick.
Yeah.
So you have to demonstrate gravitas, asking questions, not telling. There is no fear, and there's no such thing as a stupid question.
No.
So you'd go in, be across the finances. Your financial literacy will give you the edge. Do not narrow yourself.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as you were talking about your early career and going into taking that step into your own business, how did that help you? Because literally you were doing your spreadsheets, you were doing your business plans, you were managing staff. All of that adds to your value and adds to your brand. But did you feel that you then suddenly started putting this into play and it all made connection at some stage?
Oh, everything makes connections, and sitting here as CEO is a capstone job for me. I don't think if I hadn't had the humility of going in as a media release chick at band 3 or whatever, if I didn't have the humility to go to the bank manager when I didn't have the money to pay my staff and say, I really need to pay my staff. And he goes, what are your bookings like for Saturday night? I said, oh, they're good. He goes, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Rather than being just a consultant on a single trajectory in a top 4 accounting practice, it would not give me the depth to actually understand what I understand now. I think embrace all opportunities. I loved your question before about leave your ego at the door. Take yourself out of it. You're you.
Yeah.
No job will define you. Sometimes you've got to go across, down, up, over. Take on portfolios that you might fail in to get the practice. And what does failure look like? And really, is it that important? I mean, really?
Isn't it just a learning?
Yeah.
Isn't failure just a learning? And authenticity is key. And I think early in our careers, we tend to go, we need to be something else. And then suddenly go, it's too hard to be someone else. And maybe that's a factor of age, but being able to just go, you need to be authentic, you need to be who you are, and the right role will be there for you.
I believe totally that staff and audience need to know what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you're not sure of who you are, then people will have varying views on you, and how can that build trust? And therefore, without trust, you can't lead. Without lead, you can't. You won't have followers. Yeah. So the idea of warts and all, this is what you see. Yeah. I think kindness comes into it. I think empathy and kindness and no ego, but being quite clear as a leader on your vision. But frankly, there will be people that don't want to buy into your vision, and that's okay. Yeah. And that's why I say trusted advisor, not advocate. Either that's humility or it's absolute ego.
Yeah.
But I have no need, Adrian, for you to come to my point of view.
Yes.
You can do whatever you need to do. I will demand to have a voice at the table because my views are important. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when we collectively make the decision to go forward, I'm not going to sook.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, thank you, I've been heard.
Yep. We've done the rounds and now, but I've been heard. That's the main thing. So what I'd like to do is explore a little bit now, because I think this is a really important topic of how you then made that transition. And it might seem a natural one, but it's not, because otherwise we would have many, many CEOs that come from a communication background. How did you make that transition from being in the C-suite as the communication advisor, trusted advisor, to being the CEO? What was that journey like?
So at Burundara, I had responsibilities for transformation, for innovation, for customer service, for communications, community engagement. So lovely portfolio, quite a leading portfolio, but absolutely transferable to many, many organisations. Yep. Because I had a portfolio career in that I had started off in corporate, I'd worked in government, and I'd run my own business, kind of does quite well rather than, people who have only ever been in corporate or only ever been in government or only ever. So really curate your career very carefully. I mean, I didn't do it deliberately.
No.
Just things happen and stuff, whatever. But my advice is really, be quite clear on where you're going and don't be frightened to go out on your own. I've also done consulting. I ran my own consulting practice for a couple of years, which again, I love being an employee. I just love that paycheck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I found as a consultant, I'd go out, I'd spend all this, and I'd do all this bidding, and I'd get all these jobs, and then there was only me, and then I was so busy doing the jobs, I didn't have time to go out and search for more work. And it was feast and famine, and I go, oh my God.
Yep.
No, I'm a born employee. I quite like that. So then I come to, I think I was a little done. Perhaps what I needed to do in local government, I couldn't see where else I would go. It was still pretty exciting. I just delivered the transformation program, and I thought, what'll I do? And there was an ad in the paper.
Yeah.
It didn't mention cemetery, I might add, but never mind. So it had exactly that portfolio, but with sales and marketing. So I need to make $60 million a year in sales. So I'm running a real estate business here. Providing an essential service for Victorian families. And I thought, how wonderful to be held account for money, not people's egos.
Yes.
How intangible, how tangible is a budget that you have to meet. So I just got very, very excited about that. Again, was Director of Service and Engagement. So I came into the Greater Melbourne Cemetary Trust as Director with a really strong background, and again, but with commercial, that was a bit rusty. Yeah. Because I hadn't done that for some years, but that's okay. Back yourself. Yeah. A fantastic staff here. So again, trust your staff. Tell me what I don't. I knew nothing about the death industry. Now, they call ROI rights of interment, not return on investment. And they call a ledger. That's the concrete thing that goes on top of the grave. That's actually a ledger. It's not a book. There's a whole new language around there. So I think to be here and again really drive home community voice, customer efficiencies, heart. I think I was right for the time. I fitted in really, really well to the executive group, and I think that they embraced me because they were all really busy running the business, but no one had actually done the foresight stuff anyway, it was just a really happy fit. This organisation is pretty fantastic because they did succession planning. Okay. So I was the anointed one to succeed the CEO should anything happen to the CEO. Therefore, when Jackie left to go and be a CEO at the City of Stonington, then it was just known that I'd come in as interim. Now, it was no sinecure. Yeah. There was 170 applicants from all over Australia to be CEO. Yeah. I think the board, and indeed the government, because they have to approve my appointment, needed to make a clear decision. Do you want a CFO or do you want a marketer? Yeah. Do you want a comms person? Yeah. Very interesting. And I know right down the wire there was a lot of conversation about that. Yeah. And I think that because I bring in culture, comms, influence, advocacy, that got me over the line. Brilliant. Interestingly, in my interview, I acknowledged that my growth area would be financial literacy. Right. I needed to drive home to them that I was actually quite commercial. Yeah. Because they pigeonhole you, of course, into the marketing chick. Yeah. And I think, no. I know nothing about finance. No. Let me be completely clear here. Marketing in its purest form is getting stock to market. That's it. I've run my own business successfully. And again, you have that voice and you have that direct look at them and you play on your strengths. And then you say, when I look at the performance plan, I will need a coach on financial literacy. And believe me, I've got cheat sheets everywhere. Good. Got cost of goods sold, net operating profit. And I mean, I just glaze over, mate. I just go, my Lord. I understand revenue, but the whole idea of balance sheets and profit and loss, but I bluff it. Because you know what? I actually do have a good set. I analyse every single month. I sit with the CFO and I give him my pearls of wisdom. He goes, no, you got that wrong, Deb.
Yeah.
Oh. So by the time I get to trust, I speak absolutely authoritatively and I make myself do this to actually go, I am a well-rounded, competent CEO, and I can assure you that I am.
Do you see that this is starting to change in our world in general? Do you think people are starting to wake up to the fact that they do need people in the top job that have got that mix of background, that have the culture, that have the engagement, have the marketing skills?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, how things change slowly. I'm a qualified company director, of course, and you sit at the composition of boards, and they still do prefer accounting and finance. I think the latest stuff from the Institute of Company Directors is talking about, it was always about occupational health and safety. And now they're talking culture. And they are being held to account for culture and the sustainable organisation and resilience. And I'm thinking, wow, isn't that our opportunity to actually go in? We have it sorted. It's now business as usual to look at financial risk, to look at occupational health and safety. Culture is our entry point. And therefore, I think communications professionals have to really own this culture of an organisation and influence that we look after our staff and the staff will look after our customers and our customers will then ensure our business is viable. So, but I'm not seeing a great shift and I'm not seeing a great push. So I think the idea of affirmative action and women on boards is kind of working, but it's kind of tokenism and it's kind of like, I don't know, let's broaden that. Let's broaden diversity because I get a little bit tired of people that it has to be the best person for the job, frankly.
I agree. Absolutely.
And I want a fair playing field. And I think perpetuating perhaps that I need help because I'm a woman is just an anathema to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a woman, I'm not a man, I'm a person and I'm really good. So perhaps you might like to judge me on that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mind you, I was a great feminist 30 years ago, but now I've sort of calmed down because I do this by modelling. I model power. I model power in a very feminine way. In that I'm humanistic, but I'm direct, I'm capable, and I have huge common sense, and I don't bring my ego to the table. But then again, that's a sexist thing to say because men can do that too. But just as I think it's that idea of not having to be professionally vulnerable. I think is incredibly powerful.
Well, I tell you what, Deb, to listen to you today, you're absolutely inspiring. You've motivated me because I'm sitting here feeling very energised by having this conversation with you. Just in closing and wrapping up, you know, I reflect on the fact that you've stepped into this role as CEO. Next year, this year, you're stepping into the role as president of IABC in Victoria. Is that how you're going to stay in touch with your, I'll call it communication roots, but I don't think it ever leaves you once you're a communication professional. It's there, and we need more people to be that. But is that how you're going to stay in touch with your community, your tribe?
That's very interesting, isn't it? To be president of IABC is a huge task, and I thought, gosh, I wonder whether I can take this on being a fledgling CEO because that's huge too. The learning is quite. But then I felt you've got to do it because you're modelling that a president of IABC is CEO is such a powerful message. I think so. We've got a wonderful board, of course, in Victoria, and I've got great support from my organisation. So yes, it is a way of because this is jobs are transient, like jobs come and go. I have a 5-year contract. That will probably see me out. But my love and my passion and my commitment is to communications and communications practice. And I'm up for all that it absolutely has to offer. I just want to go back to the career trajectory and everything else.
Yes, yeah.
Qualifications. So it was really, really important for me halfway through when I went into comms to get a qualification.
Yeah.
So I did a master's in professional communication at Deakin.
Oh, brilliant.
And I felt that the first couple of subjects gave me the why for what I knew intuitively.
Yes.
But it actually gave me a language, and it was, that was interesting. But it also gave me connections with people that were fantastic. But I then went on and did a master's in strategic foresight at Swinburne. And that, I think, was what got me over the line for the CEO role.
Right.
Because that is strategic planning on steroids.
Yeah.
That is the ability to do scenario planning.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then if you talk about resilient organisations and risk, it's not only can I do culture and communication, but I can actually bring to the table, you auditors sitting around the table, I actually bring risk planning and resilience.
Brilliant.
So again, you back up your fabulosity with deep academic qualifications.
And it is important, isn't it? It's important to have not only who you are, what you develop along the way, but also have the quals that you've got them, and you've got that piece of paper that says you've done it. But you've got all this experience that then you go into that bag and you say, now my bag is full, I can do this role.
And I think also I'm going to do my accreditation this year.
Yes,
for
you're going to do certification on SCMP.
That's right. Because again, I feel, one, to be president of this great association, you've got to walk the talk. Secondly, how interesting to actually go back. I haven't studied for about 8 years now. To go back and actually go, right, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a litmus test.
Yes.
It's a how are you going?
Yes.
You know how you go to conferences and you sit there going, oh, God, I haven't learned anything. But isn't that the barometer to go, well, that means your level of practice. Mind you, I've never walked out of a conference getting nothing.
Yeah.
But it is good to know, how do you calibrate when you're the only comms person leader in your organisation, how you are up with current practice. So sorry to jump over there, but I felt education was really important.
When it comes to accreditation, and this is what I'm hoping you'll feel as you do it, is that it will confirm for you what you've learnt. Because to be a strategic communication professional, it's what you've done throughout your career. So I'm really hoping for you that's what that will be.
I'm hoping I pass, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I know. Everybody goes in the nose. Oh, will I pass? But I see you on the speaker circuit down the track, Deb, because I think it is a case study of somebody that has really built a career in communications, truly been a communication professional at top of their field, and now is a CEO with that background. So congratulations on taking the role. And it's not through luck, it is through absolute planning and good decisions to have experiences through your life.
And I think, thank you very much for that. I am incredibly proud. I am incredibly proud to be here and to do this job. And I think you never forget gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for that, Deb. And thanks, everybody, for listening in today. And look forward to catching up with you next time on the next episode of A View from the Top. Goodbye and thank you.